Thank you, Dr. Kohler. Thank you, Sister Brenda, and all of the St. Luke's committee for asking me to speak. I'm privileged to be one of the 4 speakers today. And as a Stritch grad, the St. Luke's Day and Mass of the Holy Spirit, pretty much anything that happened in this atrium was just so special to me. I remember it so fondly, so I'm happy to be a part of it. And today I hope to share a little bit of my personal take on the theme, as well as put my director hat on and brag a little bit, highlight you, the students, that have done so much to make change. So the theme is Be the Change You Wish to See in the World, attributed to Gandhi. And Gandhi's quote is both a call to action and to personal reflection and conversion. I'm no expert in Gandhi's teaching. I am not a historian. I leave that to Dean Mendez over there. He's the historian. But there was a time as an undergrad that I spent some time in the stacks reading Gandhi's teaching and Martin Luther King's teachings on nonviolence because I connected with them. And from that, I know Gandhi lived both an inward, reflective life dedicated to simplicity and truth, but also a radically outward life committed to bringing about social change. He simultaneously and without contradiction could believe deeply in humility and prostrating himself to his fellow humans, but also boldly led an independence movement for a nation. So this quote calls us to do the same, determine how we personally, individually can reflect the changes we want to see, while committing to a larger movement. I feel this concept fits very well with the life of a physician and all of your lives as physicians in training. We are challenged to be the agents of change by the very nature of our work with individuals and populations. And we are in positions of great power and privilege. This quote challenges me as an individual, and the challenges are reflected in my journey since I sat in the chairs as a student. But before talking about my journey or helping with the change, I think we have to define how we want to see the world. And when I thought about how I want to see the world, it made me feel very childlike. It made me feel like dreaming. And since I have a lot of children in my house, I thought I would turn to them and ask them how they wanted to see the world. So my 4-year-old sons were able to verbalize a little more than my 13-month-old, who said more. My 4-year-olds and their vision of the world and what they'd like to see. So these are the items. My son Oliver wanted to be able to drive tractors down the streets instead of cars. He thought that was a good idea. My son Luke, who is fascinated with volcanoes currently, wanted volcanoes to be located closer to the city of Chicago, but not too close because, scary. And of course they wanted a world with more chocolate chip cookies. In other words, their worlds were pretty small, pretty selfish, lack of understanding of consequences, typical toddler behavior. So I guess the change I want to see in the world now depends on me changing these creatures into global citizens and away from being the selfish ones they are now. They did in the end quite profoundly say they would like a world in which bad guys could change to good guys. I agree with them there. But the way I want the world to look is much bigger. At times, it's probably too big. My worldview, both of what is and what I wish it to be, is like a painted canvas. It's made up of stories and people, scenes of places and events, lots of intertwining humanity. The moments of light that have manifested to me when I have been attentive and present enough to notice and mindful enough to reflect. Most of these scenes have been visible to me only through my lens of being a physician. There are scenes I would like to forget, but nevertheless, they inform my worldview. Deaths of young children from malnutrition, deaths from diarrhea and dehydration, deaths of mothers in childbirth, gun violence, domestic violence. There are scenes that are in front of me every day as a clinician, scenes that are just as challenging to me and add to my worldview. Preventable disability, preventable chronic disease, job loss resulting in insurance loss, resulting in worsening health status, hopelessness, loneliness, isolation. These scenes all paint a picture for me of a world that needs change. And entering deeper with my patients, I understand this is a world that has so much potential if we could only make that change. There is one scene in my life that may have started it all, an opening scene, if you will. It's as real to me as the day I saw it, and it has nothing to do with medicine. I was in the Dominican Republic as a summer study abroad program, and part of the program was to visit a site that was supporting a sustainable agriculture project. It was in the poor, undeveloped campo of the DR. The facility grew many things, and among those things were garlic plants. They grew the garlic, they harvested it, and sent it for processing. As we were exiting the plant in the corner just outside of the building, a scene caught my eye. A pile of discarded, paper-thin peels from the harvested garlic cloves were piled up, a heaping pile, a big, mountainous, white pile of garlic peels. And standing behind it were two boys, about 5 years old, with dirty faces and torn clothing, no shoes. With the peels in front of them, they were searching, running the peels through their fingers, creating a second pile, searching intensely for cloves that had been left behind, placing the cloves in their pocket. A tour guide confirmed to me that the boys did not work there. They were from neighboring villages, and they were looking to find enough accidentally discarded tiny garlic cloves to take to the market to sell for their family's income. That scene and that concept of disparity changed my hardwiring forever. How can I recognize the desperation I saw in their faces in something that I do now? I can tell you there's rarely a night where I'm peeling garlic at home that I don't think of it. I feel it in my gut. How is it that no moment of my own life's experience matches their desperation? Where are those boys now? What gifts and talents do they have that our unequal distribution of resources has prevented them from sharing? How do I utilize my position and my place in the world? And now as a mother, looking over the 3 children's faces in front of me, how can I both recognize that my hope and prayer that my children will never face these challenges needs to be reconciled with the fact that my own children easily could have had that circumstance if born into another life? For me, the change I want to see in the world cannot rest solely with the elimination of violence, elimination of poverty and suffering. It rests in the vision of what the world will be if all people can reach their potential. The canvas includes many dark moments, but it's really made of a lot of light that opens and provides new dimension. As a physician, I've gathered these scenes and stories and believe the world has immense untapped potential. As physicians, we have the gift and privilege of working for health, not just eliminating disease. The basis of this approach is accompaniment, being with people on their journey, for their journey is my journey. It is rooted in empowerment. It is encased in sustainability. It is local. It is international. It is global. I am so blessed that I get to do this as a clinician in my own primary care practice on Roosevelt Road. Through the relationships formed with patients, together we chip away at inequalities between individuals and between neighboring communities. This chipping away is not the fast and dramatic change I once thought I would be a part of. It is not easily measured. It's not apparent every day. It is much more real than that. It is messy. It's full of challenges. And it is indescribably rewarding. I am also blessed to be part of the change through the amazing work of you, our students. As director of the center, working with an amazing and irreplaceable team, I've had the opportunity to create the structure to help support you in the changes that you want to see in the world. I can tell you that as a student, I never would have imagined that being an administrator would be how I would be making change in the world. I can tell you that I never would have guessed that sitting behind a computer and typing up curriculum, or sitting in meetings, or promoting the honors program, or reviewing requirements would be the way I make the world a better place. But what I've found is, in finding how to be the change, there are times when it's really not about you. It's really not about your own vision. It may be about what others see in you. It may be about where God calls you. It may be several steps that don't make sense. The tacking in Dr. Judge's sailing analogy, that necessary tacking to reach your eventual goal. It's not just smooth sailing. As director of the center, through our global health initiatives, the honors program, your field projects, in our own backyard and beyond, it's impossible to be with you and not feel hopeful. I'm so proud of what we've done over the last 5 years. Those Stritch students have been creating change since the start of this school. I do feel like we've been starting to make a real lasting impact. We have a program that is backed by training in core concepts and ethics, the stuff that's necessary to make change that is responsible and sustainable. Through the Global Health Program, we bind together with partners locally and around the world to pitch in reducing disparities. Here are some examples of projects that inspire me. There is a community garden in Maywood that not only provides a space for healthy food to be grown, but the potential for teaching children about healthy eating and where their food comes from. That is the Enriched Natural Learning Center, led by a student. In a clinic in the rural eastern province of Zambia, Stritch students have worked to help implement a system to recognize the ill children standing in a long line waiting to see the doctor, recognize them earlier to save lives, where malaria and dehydration take them too early. In that same clinic, other Stritch students have helped the physician reach out to surrounding village healthcare workers, improving prenatal care, reducing maternal mortality through healthcare worker education on how to recognize high-risk pregnancies. In Bolivia, we are really making an impact. Donated medications that provide diabetes and hypertension management for villagers are now cataloged and organized in a pharmacy for safer care. In Bolivia, health promoters are trained in chronic disease management, and patients are assisted financially when acute emergent medical care is needed. And in our city, we are helping families come together and overcome the barriers that exist to healthy eating. We're helping them exercise. We're helping them through community outreach. We are working collaboratively with other health professional students to do this, inspiring small changes that have a dramatic impact. There are so many more. I can't mention them all. As your work and service continues, the future holds countless new scenes for me of the bold attempt to promote health and human potential in all that you encounter, in the office, the operating room, and distant lands. The scenes of your own individual student conversion through reflection and asking yourself, is this the world I want to see? So today, in the phrase from Gandhi, there's nothing contradictory in humility and radicalism, in searching for something that is very personal and very socially profound. Listen to where you are being called. Seek mentors that may see a path that you did not imagine. Look at the canvas of your own worldview. Know that today is a call to feel personally responsible for the inequality and to carry that sense of responsibility deeply, such that no other action is as important as remedying the dissonance between the world, how the world is, and what you hope the world to be.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. So the last few days have felt like a whirlwind for me. I had to go to a wedding in Ecuador. Left over the weekend, came back Monday, and I was back at work yesterday, and I just finished my 24-hour shift this morning. So if I fall asleep, just come and wake me up. It is a privilege to be here with all of you. I was a Stritch grad, and so when Sister Brenda asked for me to come over and share a few words, I definitely couldn't say no. So as Dr. Kohler said, Jude, Dumfeh, I went to med school here, and then I stayed over after med school to do residency at here at Loyola in MedPeds. Prior to coming for residency, prior to coming for med school, I had actually never set foot in Chicago. And 9 years later, I'm still here and still working. It doesn't seem that long ago that I was in your shoes as a med student, listening to probably the same kinds of speeches here. And the circle that's come around, and feels like being here I'm getting back what I'm receiving and getting back the same things that was given to me. Being the change you wish to see in the world means not looking at all the problems around and pointing the finger or looking to others to come and fix it. It means taking up a personal and seeking to take ownership of a situation to bring out the good. In trying to save the world, we sometimes have it backwards and focus on the world around us and forget the change that should always start with us, the individual, for it to be a true and lasting change. I would like to share a story that I heard from the author and speaker, Matthew Kelly, and some of you may have heard it before. There was a successful businessman whose company was facing hard times, and he was in danger of being forced out. He decided to give a dinner and deliver an important message to inspire his workers to give of their best and to help save his company. He was in his study room trying to think of what to say in his speech. His wife had to run an errand, so he asked him to watch their 7-year-old son. He reluctantly agreed to do it, knowing he had to work on the speech. His son, shortly after the mother left, knocked on the door of the study, asked his dad to play with him. The father took a break to play with his son, but he was torn as he knew he needed to work on the speech before dinner. He wanted something to distract the son while he worked on the speech. He went into the study, picked up a magazine, and tore a page which had a large map of the world. He then tore the page into several pieces and gave it to his son. And he told the son, "I'll give you $20 if you're able to put the map of the world together." The father knew very well that the son didn't know how the map of the world looked like. He figured this would buy him a couple of hours to work on the speech. However, after about 5 minutes, the son knocked on the door of the study, and he had a completed map of the world in his hand. His father was astonished and asked, "Son, how did you finish this so quickly?" The son replied, "I didn't know the map of the world, Dad, but as I picked up the pieces of paper, I realized that there was a picture of a man at the back. I knew how the man looked, so I put down a large sheet of paper and went about putting together the picture of the man from the pieces of paper. After getting the picture of the man right, I turned it around and I had a map of the world right, all put together. I figured if I got the man right, the world would be right." The dad was astonished as he gave his son the promised $20. He realized his son had given him the words he needed for his speech. If you get the man or the woman right, the world will be right too. I think this is an important message that we all need to remember if we want to make any meaningful and lasting impression on our world. We often have lofty dreams about fixing the world. We go around trying to fix people and problems as we travel the world to help the poor. It may seem easier to deflect attention from ourselves to making projects of others and the world. We may help others because it makes us feel better about ourselves, and not because we truly care about the people we serve. The first place we should look is to our own hearts. Am I a person of good character and integrity? What is the motivation for what I do? You can only give from what you have inside. Matthew 6:21 says, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." A good tree that is well catered for will definitely eventually bear good fruit, and vice versa. We have to seek to live out in our own lives the faith, the joy, peace, love that we want to see in the world around us. That is how you get to lasting change. When we think of change, we usually think of big accomplishments and large projects. We may place special value on going overseas and doing medical trips, which I have done, but ignore the simple acts of kindness for those who surround us every day. We may get caught up in doing bigger and more activities and totally lose our focus. Mother Teresa said, "We cannot do great things on this earth, only small things done with great love." And she also said, "I know that when we die and we come before God, He will not ask us, 'How many good things have you done in your life?' Rather, He will ask, 'How much love did you put into what you did?'" It is this love that will definitely keep your heart in the right place, no matter what you do, so that we don't lose our joy or our focus. Being the change you want to see in the world can be burdensome and overwhelming, even when your heart is in the right place. Having been in a couple of the immersion trips with the med students, a question that constantly comes up is whether the care that we give makes any real lasting impact, especially when you look around and all you're confronted is its overwhelming need around you. Personally, I do put a lot of honest and personal responsibility on myself to fix things and make things around me better. There are times that I beat myself up and guilt myself, and sometimes feel that I constantly need to do more and be better. I may feel inadequate and be pulled in many directions. I bet it is the same feeling that all of us have felt at some point in time. We may have the right intentions, but still feel frustrated, discouraged, or even jaded when the change that we seek doesn't happen the way we want. Personally, this is when my faith grounds me and gives me perspective. This, for me, is how to go beyond a self-help project that starts and ends with the individual. I'm learning that my strength alone can only take me to a certain point. I need to allow the Lord to take me past my limitations. When we become clay in the potter's hand, we are transformed into amazing vessels, beyond anything we ever dreamed we could become. It takes away the pressure from us, even as we don't try to do it all on our own strength, and think it all depends on what we can imagine. We realize that we are part of a mission much bigger than ourselves. We get the motivation and purpose to persevere, even when the circumstances look bleak. We either do this or get spent and burnt out. I've come to the same realization as most of you from all these different service trips and volunteer opportunities that I've been involved in. You go in thinking you're going to help another person, but you end up being the one that is thoroughly enriched by the experience. I've met so many amazing people in different countries who inspired me with their lives of sacrifice and compassion, despite all the challenges that they face. My joy has been renewed by the joy of these people who have none or little. You realize what a privilege it is to share in the life of another person. You don't have to go to a third world country to do this. It is all around us. And medicine, in a special way, provides us with all these many ample opportunities to be that breath of refreshing fresh air for others. I'll end with a reflection or a prayer that has given me a lot of comfort and inspiration. And I think you've likely heard it before. This is the Archbishop Oscar Romero prayer called A Step Along the Way, which is actually attributed to Oscar Romero, but he actually did not say the exact words. It was written by Bishop Ken Antoner of Saginaw in 1979 for a homily celebrating departed priests. And it was included in a reflection in a book marking the martyrdom of Oscar Romero. And I think that's how it kind of got attributed to him. So it goes like this. A step along the way. It helps now and then to step back and take a long view. The kingdom is not only beyond our efforts, it is even beyond our vision. We accomplish in our lifetime only a tiny fraction of the magnificent enterprise that is God's work. Nothing we do is complete, which is a way of saying that the kingdom always lies beyond us. No statement says all that could be said. No prayer fully expresses our faith. No confession brings perfection. No pastoral visit brings wholeness. No program accomplishes the church's mission. No set of goals and objectives includes everything. This is what we are about. We plant the seeds that one day will grow. We water seeds already planted, knowing that they hold future promise. We lay foundations that will need further development. We provide yeast that produces far beyond our capabilities. We cannot do everything, and there is a sense of liberation in realizing that. This enables us to do something, and to do it very well. It may be incomplete, but it is a beginning, a step along the way, an opportunity for the Lord's grace to enter and do the rest. We may never see the end results, but that is the difference between the master builder and the worker. We are workers, not master builders. Ministers, not messiahs. We are prophets of a future, not our own. Thank you.